Um, is this what Papoose calls a love letter to New York? Because the whole borough has been celebrating a Knicks championship. The whole borough has been streaming his estranged wife's record. And suddenly, this man wakes up, dusts off a microphone, and decides today is the day he becomes a recording artist again. Right? Right. Hey. Welcome in. It is your favorite forensic gossip correspondent, and we are deep diving today, baby. Sending love, sending light, sending peace, and sending a little side-eye to everybody who needs to receive it. If you are new around here, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and pull your chair up close, because today we are getting into Papoose. Today we are getting into Remy Ma. And today we are getting into a so-called championship anthem that smells less like victory and more like a man who can't stand the sound of his wife's name on a Spotify playlist. Anything I say is alleged, anything I say is opinion, anything I say is for entertainment purposes only, and the Copyright Act of 1976 is doing the heavy lifting in the description box. Cool? Cool. Let's get into the mess. So here's the scene. The New York Knicks just won a championship. The whole city is glowing. Madison Square Garden looks like a Broadway opening night. Spike Lee is somewhere weeping. Tracy Morgan is somewhere yelling. Alicia Keys is on a stage. Jay-Z is on a soundtrack. Fabulous is on a record. French Montana is on a remix. And Remy Ma is sitting on the official ESPN and ABC NBA Finals anthem. #1 on iTunes rap and hip-hop. Added to an exclusive Spotify playlist designed to push streams into the stratosphere. Custom Knicks jacket. Custom Knicks moment. Custom Knicks era. Her face is the face of New York basketball right now, and that is not an exaggeration. That is a fact check waiting to happen. And where is her allegedly still husband during all of this? Where is the man who has been on the timeline insisting he is still married, insisting he will not move that tattoo, insisting he will not take down the photos? Is he at the parade? No. Is he at Madison Square Garden? No. Is he at one of the 7, 8, 9 Knicks parties happening across all 5 boroughs? No. Sir. He is in somebody's house. I don't even know whose house. I don't know if it's a rental, I don't know if it's an Airbnb, I don't know if it's a Remy Ma property he is still squatting on, but I know one thing, he is sitting in there, eyes glossy, cup full, phone hot, and recording an Instagram rant that nobody, and I mean nobody, asked him to film. Let me read you the energy. He is talking about people taking things from him. He is talking about people taking things from her. He is talking about loyalty. He is talking about New York. He is talking about, listen, I do not even know what this man is talking about. Because the New York Knicks just won a chip and his ex or current or pending divorce wife just snagged the anthem of the year, and instead of just clapping the way a grown man would clap, he is in front of a camera doing a one-act play that nobody bought a ticket for. Come on now. Anyway, here is where it gets fun. While he is mid-rant, while he is mid-feelings, while he is mid-whatever this is, an announcement drops on the Instagrammies. Wait. Hold on. Come here. Let me make sure I am reading this right. Papoose has released a New York Knicks championship song. Allegedly produced by Swizz Beatz. Allegedly. Because we have got to talk about that word, allegedly. Do not skip past it. Because if you have been paying attention, and you know I have been paying attention, Swizz Beatz has been tagging up the entire timeline with the original, ever since he left. Not the remix Pap was on last year, no. The new New York Knicks remix where French Montana rewrote his verse, all I need is one chip, to fit the championship moment. Swizz has been promoting the Jay-Z and Alicia Keys Empire State of Mind because his wife performed it last night at the Garden. Swizz has been pushing Jadakiss, I'm from New York. Swizz has been on a one-man New York content campaign for 2 straight weeks, and at no point did Swizz post Papoose. At no point did Swizz tag Papoose. At no point did Swizz say, yo, my brother Pap, we cooked something up. Nothing. Crickets. Empty. So when this song drops and Pap's team is whispering produced by Swizz, I'm sitting here like, does Swizz know? Does Swizz know? Because either Swizz knows and chose silence, or Swizz does not know and somebody is about to be on a group chat saying, bro, take my name off this. I am not saying Papoose put Swizz Beatz' name on the song to ride the wave. I'm not saying that. I would never suggest that. But what I am saying is, when the biggest producer in New York is publicly co-signing everybody except you, and then suddenly your single mysteriously has his name attached, you might want to call your publicist before TMZ calls him. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's rewind, because some of you are new to this rodeo. Last year, Remy Ma jumped on the remix of Ever Since You Left by French Montana and the late, great Max B. That remix went up. It started a slow boil. It built a cult. And the people loved it. Then, and pay attention to this timeline because the timeline tells you everything. When Remy was originally announced on that remix, there was, allegedly, behind-the-scenes friction. There were whispers, there were rumors, there were grown men in New York studios suddenly feeling some kind of way that this woman, this lyricist, this two-time comeback queen, was being celebrated. And the loudest rumored grumble came from her own husband. I have been hearing, and I am still digging, so don't crucify me yet, but I am hearing that Pap allegedly tried to keep Remy off that remix. Allegedly tried to intervene. Allegedly was on a, if I'm not eating, she's not eating tip. I do not have the receipts in my hand on that one yet, but the kitchen smells like something is burning and I am following the smoke. And then what does Pap do next? He posts the Touch It remix. The Touch It remix. From 2000 and, let me do the math, 2006? 20 years old, baby. 2 decades. He posts it to claim a place in the New York moment. And the internet does what the internet does. They dragged that man through the digital streets. The comments were comedy. The comments were a roast. The comments were New York hospitality. People were saying, come collect your husband. People were saying, this is Remy's moment, not yours. People were saying things I cannot even repeat on this channel because I am trying to stay monetized. Listen. So now we have established the pattern. Are we seeing it? Are we tracking? Every time, Remy Ma has a moment, her allegedly estranged, allegedly still married, allegedly tattoo-having husband Papoose pops up trying to either ride the wave or wash it out. That is not a coincidence. That is a behavioral profile. Then comes the ESPN and ABC announcement. The worldwide leader in sports, that is what they call themselves, decides to make Ever Since You Left the official anthem of the NBA Finals. Millions of households. Every game. Every cutaway. Every highlight reel. That is not a small bag. That is a generational placement. And right behind it, the Bronx remix drops. The Knicks-specific remix drops. French changes his verse. The chip line lands. The song goes #1 on iTunes hip-hop and rap. The exclusive Spotify playlist scoops it up. Remy posts the announcement today. The moment is hers. The moment is concrete. The moment is undeniable. So, what does the man do? The man who has been dragged for posting a 20-year-old remix? The man who could not get traction with last year's New York record? The man whose verse on that remix had, let's be honest, zero motion? He runs to the studio. He runs. He doesn't walk. He runs to the studio and he records a New York Knicks championship song. And he drops it. On YouTube. With a beat that is allegedly Swizz, an alleged cosign that we cannot verify, and a video that, last I checked, was crawling at like 300 views. 300 views. While his wife's song is on national television. Make it make sense. I am going to say something and I want you to receive it the way I am sending it. I am not saying Papoose is jealous. I'm not. I would never say a man is jealous of his wife. That would be reductive. That would be insulting. That would be the kind of thing that gets you a strongly worded message in the DMs. But what I am saying, what I am observing with my own 2 eyes, with the timeline as my witness, is that every single time Remy Ma reaches a peak, her husband shows up with a cheaper, smaller, paler imitation of that peak. Last year, she was on a New York remix. He was on a New York remix. This year, she has a Knicks anthem. He has a Knicks anthem. She gets ESPN. He gets 300 YouTube views. She gets Spotify editorial. He gets a comment section roast. The pattern is not subtle. The pattern is wearing a neon vest in a dark parking lot. The pattern is walking around with a sandwich board on. We can see it. And listen, before the loyalty squad rolls in here, and I love a loyalty squad, I do, I have a loyalty squad. You guys are my loyalty squad before y'all come in here saying, but Pap loves New York. Pap is a New York rapper. I have a question. Where was this Pap last year? Where was this Pap 2 years ago? Where was this Pap when the Knicks were rebuilding? You only love New York when New York is winning and your wife is winning louder? Sir, that's not loyalty. That's logistics. Come here. Let me read you something. Because I want us to do this in real time. He posts the song. He captions it like a love letter. He calls it his love letter to New York. A love letter to New York. From the man who would not move out of the marital home, from the man who allegedly still has the wedding tattoo on display, from the man who, every time the divorce gets brought up, has a new excuse. The court won't let me. I'm respecting the process. Sir, the process did not stop you from posting the Touch It remix. The process did not stop you from going on Instagram drunk in somebody's living room. The process did not stop you from rushing to a studio to drop a song 24 hours after your wife dropped hers. The process is not the problem. The process is your alibi. Anyway. Let's talk about Swizz, because I do not want to leave Swizz hanging. Swizz Beatz is, allegedly, in the middle of one of the best content runs of his recent career. He is celebrating the Knicks. He is celebrating his wife. He is on every timeline. He is at every event. He is curating the soundtrack of New York Summer 2026 with his own bare hands. Now I know one thing about Swizz, and let me put this delicately, Swizz is not cheap. Swizz does not get out of bed for free. Swizz has a quote, and that quote has commas. So if Pap pulled up to that studio and got Swizz on this beat, somebody, somewhere, cut a check. Or Swizz did Pap a New York favor, brother to brother, and forgot to read the fine print. Because if I am Swizz, and I am married to Alicia Keys, and Alicia Keys is performing at Madison Square Garden during the Knicks championship moment, and Remy Ma is sitting on the official anthem, the absolute last thing I want is for my production credit to be the side dish on a passive-aggressive rebuttal record from somebody's estranged husband. That is not the look. That is not the timeline. That is not the move. I'm just saying. If I were Swizz, I would be checking that file metadata real careful. Now let's talk about French Montana, because French has been the realest one in this story, and nobody is giving him his flowers. French gave Remy that placement. French rewrote his own verse to make it Knicks specific. French let his record become her moment. French let his record become Max B's moment, which, Max B, free Max B, we love Max B forever. Max B is in the lyrics. Max B is in the spirit. Max B is in the New York DNA of this whole song. And French could have said, nah, this is my record. I want all the credit. But French didn't. French is being a real one. So if I am French right now, watching Papoose try to clip my wave with a knockoff Knicks song, I am back in the studio tomorrow morning. I am calling Remy. I am calling Max B's estate. I am calling the team. I am dropping another remix. The Knicks Championship Edition. The Parade Day Edition. The We Brought It Home Edition. Because the worst thing you can do to a copycat is to make the original louder. Crank that record up. Drown the imitation out. That is the New York way. Let me pause and check my temperature, because I feel myself getting up. Hold on. Breathe in. Breathe out. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, there is something else that needs to be said, and I am the one that is going to say it. Papoose has been doing this for years. There is a documented pattern of this man either riding his wife's coattails or competing against his wife's coattails. When Remy got out and made her comeback, who was on every magazine cover with her? Pap. When Remy joined Love and Hip Hop and made it a phenomenon, Pap was in the cast like a discount Mufasa. When Remy started Reminisce Records, her label, her platform, her vision, Pap, allegedly, has been operating Honorable Records and Win Records in what looks suspiciously like parallel structure. You start a label, he starts a label. You sign artists, he signs artists. You get a remix anthem for the Knicks, he gets, let me check, 300 views and a Swizz Beatz question mark. I am not calling it copying. I'm not. I would never. But I am calling it shadowing. There is a difference. And shadowing is what you do when you cannot generate your own light and you have decided to stand directly behind somebody else's. Now here is the thing the audience needs to ask itself. Would this song have come out if Remy Ma's record was not #1? Be honest. Be brutal. Sit with the question. If Remy's song was not on ESPN, would Pap have rushed to Swizz's studio in the dead of night to drop a Knicks championship song? Would he have waited until Parade Day? Would he have done a slow rollout? Would he have done anything at all? Because I do not see the version of this timeline where Pap drops this record organically. I see the version of this timeline where Pap saw the numbers, saw the playlist, saw the ESPN partnership, and said, if I cannot have her moment, I will have a moment shaped exactly like hers. That is not artistry. That is reaction. That is reflex. That is a man who heard his wife's song on national television and could not sleep. And listen, because I want to be fair. I want to be balanced. I want to be the kind of correspondent that gives every side a fair hearing. Maybe Pap really does love the Knicks. Maybe Pap really did want to write a love letter to New York. Maybe Pap really is just trying to feed his family in the only way he knows how. Maybe. Sure. Sure. But you can love the Knicks and not drop the song the same week as your estranged wife's Knicks song. You can love New York and not put your record out 48 hours after the woman whose tattoo you refused to remove just got the biggest sports placement of her career. You can be inspired by the city without timing your inspiration to her press cycle. Make sense. Anyway, let me pivot because there is one more thing and I am going to say it and then I am going to let it breathe. The thing that gets me is the timing of the drunk rant. He went on Instagram alone, in a house I cannot identify, sipping something I cannot identify, talking about loyalty and people taking things and people doing this and people doing that. And then within hours, the song appeared. Almost like the rant was the trailer and the song was the feature. Almost like he was building anticipation. Almost like the meltdown was, in fact, marketing. Now I am not accusing Papoose of staging a public emotional breakdown to promote a record. I am not. I would never. But I am noting for the historical record, for the receipts file, for the timeline, that the man went live in a fugue state and a song appeared, and the timing was, let us say, convenient. Let us say opportune. Let us say, interesting. Make a face if you have to. Pause the video and make a face. I will wait. While y'all are making your faces, let me hit the housekeeping. Hit that like button if anything I have said in the last 10 minutes has made your eyebrow raise. Drop a comment and tell me, and be honest, do you think this song happens if Remy Ma's record isn't already on ESPN? Yes or no? Just type your answer. I read every single one of them, and I am going to pin the spiciest, most articulate take to the top of the comment section. Subscribe if you have not already, because there is more, much more, on this story coming, and I do not want you to miss the next chapter. Anyway, here is where it gets even funnier. Pap, allegedly, has been seen and heard saying, to anyone with ears, that he is the reason Remy Ma had a career. That he wrote her bars. That he was the architect. That without him, none of this happens. Okay, sir. Okay. Let us suppose, for a single hypothetical second, that any of that is true. Let us play in this sandbox. If you wrote her bars, why is she on ESPN and you are not? If you were the architect, why is she #1 on iTunes and you are on a YouTube video with 300 views? If you are the silent genius behind her career, why is the loudest moment of your year a drunken Instagram live in somebody else's living room? The math is not matting, my brother. The math is not matting. I want to be very, very clear about something. I am a Remy Ma fan from the days. I was there for the first run. I was there for the comeback. I was there for the freestyles, for the battles, for the verses that could clear a room. But this is not even about being a fan. This is about watching a woman quietly, professionally, lyrically reclaim her space in the culture, and watching the people who used to share that space try every angle, every leverage, every loophole to prevent her from owning it alone. We see it. We see all of it. And the audacity, to do this during a championship moment. During a championship that this city has waited decades for. New York has been begging for a Knicks chip for as long as some of my viewers have been alive. People have died. People have been born. Buildings have gone up. Subway lines have changed. And finally, the city gets its moment, and you decide your moment of inspiration is, by sheer cosmic coincidence, exactly when your estranged wife is having hers. On the same beat? In the same lane? With overlapping branding? Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out, get out, get out. I want to talk about French Montana one more time because French is the dark horse moral hero of this story. French could have been petty. French could have been quiet. French could have hoarded the record. Instead, French elevated everybody around him. He elevated Remy. He elevated Max B's legacy. He elevated New York. He elevated the Knicks. He elevated his own catalog. That is the difference between an artist who creates space and an artist who creates shade. One of them is having a generational moment. The other one is on YouTube at 300 views. I'm going to leave that there. Listen, before I get out of here, let me give y'all one more thing to chew on. There is a rumor, and I want to stress, this is a rumor. This is unconfirmed. This is in the gossip ether, that there are people in Pap's camp who have been actively trying to muddy Remy's rollout. Trying to get DJs not to spin the remix. Trying to get blogs to write counter-narratives. Trying to get certain editorial playlists to balance the coverage with Pap's record. I cannot confirm any of that. I want to be clear. I cannot confirm it. But I am hearing it. I am hearing it from more than one source. And the moment I get even one screenshot, even one DM, even one whisper that I can verify, y'all already know. We will be back in this exact seat with the receipts laid out like a Thanksgiving table. That is a promise. That is a pinky promise. That is on the record. Until then, let me close this out the way I always close it out. This is your friendly forensic gossip correspondent reminding you that allegedly is doing the heaviest lifting of any word in the English language. Reminding you that opinions are opinions, that entertainment is entertainment, and that the Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box doing its little dance. Reminding you that we love Remy. We are rooting for Remy. We are streaming Remy. We are buying the merch, we are downloading the song, we are watching the highlights with the anthem in the background, and we are quietly side-eyeing anybody who shows up 48 hours late with a discount knockoff. Hit the like, because the algorithm is watching. Hit the subscribe, because the next chapter is already cooking. Drop your spiciest comment, because I read them all. Share this with the one friend in your group chat who keeps saying, but maybe Pap is just inspired. They need to see this. They need to see all of it. They need to walk into work tomorrow with the full picture. And next time you hear a man insist he is the architect of his wife's success, check the numbers. Check the streams. Check the playlists. Check the placements. Check the ESPN broadcast. Check the iTunes chart. Check the Spotify editorial. Because numbers do not lie. Numbers do not have feelings. Numbers do not get drunk in somebody else's living room and go live on Instagram. Numbers just sit there and tell you exactly who is winning and exactly who is shadowing. Until next time, my loves, my correspondents, my fellow forensic investigators, keep your eyes on the receipts, keep your hearts on the truth, keep your ears on the timeline, and keep streaming ever since you left. Because that record deserves every single play. That is it. That is the show. That is the whole sandwich. I am out of here. I will see you in the next one. Be good. Be petty when necessary. And stay informed. Bye.